Tell me about how you got signed by WWF.
No, this was very easy. I mean, there was no question about it. When I was in my um, last week training up in Reading, Massachusetts, well, it was actually Salem, Massachusetts. Walter lived in Reading, which is just basically next door. We were training at a YMCA upstairs on the second floor. And I went up to Walter and I said, "Hey, Walter," I said, "How am I doing?" I go, "You're doing great." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "You're like you know what you're doing. You're not shy." And so, because, Walter put on a couple shows, in these little bars and so forth to give you that experience. Plus, I did go work up in Vermont. Angelo Savoldi needed a couple guys undercard show, and he sent me and another guy up there. So, that little bit of experience. But he says, "You're doing great." And one thing that was certainly on my mind was that I want to go work for the biggest company out there. I could have taken Walter's advice and say, "Hey, Walter," I said, maybe, can you hook me up going somewhere else? Because he sent some guys to Puerto Rico in his early days of his school. And I wanted to go work for the WWF, take my chances. I know how I was going to start out, but that's where the money was. Okay. So he says, "Okay." I said, "I want to go work for the WWF." He says, "Okay." 2 weeks later, or maybe even a week later, I get a call from Gorilla Monsoon. He says, "Hey, Ron, can you come up to Allentown and we're going to do the tapings there?" I said, "Yeah, sure. I'll be there." And my very first match was up against Tony Atlas. I don't know if I worked another match that night because they would do 3 hour tapings, and then the next night they go to Hamburg and do All Star Wrestling, another 3 hours of taping. I wasn't invited to go to All Star Wrestling until maybe a month later. So that's where I went there, and I started. One thing about me is that I listened to people. Okay, I didn't go in there pretending I'm a veteran. Okay, I didn't pretend I was this guy. I was just Ron Shaw. Okay, and I would sit down, and guys like the Grand Wizard come up to me and give me a little bit of advice, which was very encouraging. And then you got a lot of guys who were joking around with me too, and which was a good thing. They took a liking to you. Okay, and so the next thing you know is, like I said, they're calling me Big Ron Shaw, and then I'm able to work with people, and they can see that. So that's why I would then keep coming up myself, and it became automatic. Okay, and then it wasn't probably 3 months later that I was wondering what was happening, because at the one of the tapings in Allentown, Arnold Skolin would say, "Hey, Shaw, I got a payoff for you from Madison Square Garden." What? I said, I didn't work in Madison Square. I never worked in Madison Square Garden. He goes, "Don't worry about it. You're with the team now." So, they would give maybe a handful of guys a payoff from Madison Square Garden who didn't work there, and that was me. I was one of those guys. So that's when I realized, okay, I'm with the company now. So to jump ahead, I went back to Vince a couple of times. I was fired once by him because they gave me a great advantage in 1981 of making me the executioner. And I worked as the executioner all of 1981 and as Ron Shaw. I got several of those matches on my website. And they were going to send me out to California for Mike LaBelle, and I chose not to go. So that's when Vince let me go. But I came back a year and a half later after working with the independent promotion of international wrestling.
What was the reason why you didn't want to work in California?
Well, well, number one, it was going to be the money was the first part, because this may not sound like a lot, but 1981 I made $92,000.
Hmm.
Okay, because I was working all the house shows, Madison Square Garden, and so forth. And I started asking a few people, getting their opinions of, "Hey, Vince is going to send me up to LA." Well, I asked SD Jones, I asked Bob Backlund, and I asked Kowalski. Kowalski said, it's not a good idea to go out there. And Backlund says, "You're not going to make no money out there." And SD Jones kind of said the same thing. "You're not going to make no money out there, but give Vince a call. He'll send you a check every week." He knew this from experience and knew it from other people. And I was still back and forth on it. And, I went to Monsoon when we were working a spot show. And I said, Gino, I said, I'm definitely not going to go. I just definitely not going to go. And I didn't know if that was the right thing to say or what. I could have maybe should have went. But at that time, I was green and thinking that, okay, I'll still stay here, make some great money. Well, we were on a tour up in upstate New York, and we were doing the Utica, Syracuse, Buffalo, Rochester tour. And I was on the last night of the tour, and I was told to give Vince a call. And Vince said, Ron, I understand you don't want to go out to LA. I said, that's correct, Vince. And he says, okay. He goes, look, make tonight your last night. And I kind of expected that. So it wasn't really a hard blow to me. And I said, well, listen, Vince, I said, thank you for giving me this opportunity. And I hope I can come back one day. And left on a good note. But, his father was still in charge at the time. And his father really liked me. He liked Kowalski, and he liked the fact that I was trained by Kowalski because, before the executioner thing happened, Mr. McMahon Sr., and I always refer to him as that because he was quite a gentleman. And he called me down in the dressing room one day. He goes, Ron, he goes, you're a natural at this. And that was the highest comment anybody could receive from this man. And he asked me, am I able to travel? And I kind of thought I was traveling already all over the territory, but he meant all over the world and the country because they didn't have the territories at the time. And I told him yes. And that's what that was about, becoming the executioner and going out to LA. And I probably turned down a great opportunity because the last night Skolin came up to me and he said, he goes, Ron, he goes, that's a shame you didn't go. He goes, you were supposed to work with Andre out there. You're supposed to go to Mexico and then go to Japan. Now, I don't know if he's making me feel worse or that was the actual plan, you know? So, okay. To this day, I'll never know what happened, but I made a career of 20 years out of this business. So,
Yeah.
and I made money. I made money there. And when I made money with Vince, I also invested it, which really helped me out.